He was just a passenger. Aisle 14C. Mid-30s, quiet, polite. The kind you forget 5 minutes after takeoff. But I couldn't. I noticed the way he looked at me. Not creepy, not desperate. There was something else in his eyes. Like he already knew me. Like we had a story and I'd simply forgotten it. The flight was from LA to New York, 5 hours in the air. I served him water, then coffee. Then he asked if I had a pen. I handed him one. He scribbled something on the back of a napkin, folded it once, and slid it back across the tray with a faint smile. I thought it was a thank you note. I didn't open it until I got to the galley. It said, "Dinner with me, $25,000. No expectations, just time. Tell me yes before landing." I froze. My heart punched my ribs. I'd had weird offers before, rude ones, offensive even. But this was different. It wasn't sleazy. It was calm, measured, like a man placing a bet on something he couldn't afford to lose. I didn't answer right away. I avoided his row, but every time I passed by, he was still watching me. Not pushy, not pleading, just waiting. And the thing that scared me most, I wanted to say yes. Not for the money, but because something about him felt dangerously familiar, like I'd seen him in a dream that ended too soon. Landing gear down, cabin lights dimmed. I had 2 minutes to make a choice, so I did. I walked up the aisle, slipped the napkin back into his hand, and whispered one word: yes. I didn't know then that this dinner would change everything, that behind his offer was a story of love, loss, and a promise he made 10 years ago to a girl he'd only met once, me. We met that evening, a rooftop restaurant in Manhattan, private table, candlelight, city humming below. He was already there, waiting. Same calm eyes, same silence, but now closer, more dangerous. I sat down. He didn't mention the money, not once. Instead, he said, "Do you remember Nice? Summer of 2015? You were with friends. I was alone." I blinked. I felt cold. He wasn't guessing. He knew. I had been there. One night on the beach, there was a guy. We talked, drank cheap wine, listened to the waves. I never knew his name. He left before sunrise. I thought I'd imagined it, a moment too soft to be real. "It was you," I whispered. He nodded. "I promised myself," he said, "if I ever saw you again, I'd never let you go without a real goodbye." I didn't know what to say. I wanted to scream, cry, run, or stay frozen forever. Because deep down, I remembered too, not just the beach, but the feeling. Some people you meet only once, yet they burn into your skin forever. "I searched for you for years," he said. "Then I gave up. Until yesterday. I boarded that flight without hope. And then, there you were, tray in hand, same eyes. I should have walked away. I should have laughed it off and called it a fantasy. But I didn't, because something about this didn't feel like fate. It felt like consequence, like a story paused mid-sentence, finally being read again. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing. At midnight, he walked me back to my hotel. No kiss, no touch, just words hanging between us like unfinished promises. Next morning, I found a note under my door. It said, "I won't offer money again. If you want to know who I am, really, meet me at Gate 47, Terminal B, 5 p.m. Tickets waiting." I stood there, heart pounding, note shaking in my hand, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a flight attendant. I felt like someone whose story was finally starting. I went. I don't know why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I wanted the story to be real. Gate 47, Terminal B, 5 p.m. sharp. He was there, leaning against the glass window like he'd been waiting his whole life to see if I'd come back. I didn't smile. He didn't speak at first, just nodded, handed me the ticket. "Where are we going?" I asked. He said, "Not far, just enough to breathe." The flight was quiet. A small town in Maine. Sea cliffs, rainy streets, wind that made you feel like the world was trying to wash itself clean. He had a small house there, nothing fancy, no games, no charm, just him and silence and time. We didn't rush into anything. There were no grand gestures, no perfect kisses, just quiet breakfasts and walks by the shore, and moments where he looked at me like he still couldn't believe I was real. I didn't ask about the past, not yet, and he didn't offer. One night, it rained so hard the windows shook. I sat by the fire, wrapped in a sweater he gave me. He looked at me like he was about to speak, but hesitated. "I'm not rich," he said. "I just saved, and waited, and hoped." "For what?" I whispered. "For you," he said. "For this." I couldn't hold it anymore. I walked to him and kissed him, not like in the movies, not perfect, not clean, but real. A little messy, a little broken, a little desperate. Like us. That night we didn't sleep. We didn't speak much either, but everything changed. In the morning, he made coffee and said, "If you want to leave, you can. I'll drive you to the airport myself. But if you want to stay, I'll never ask you to explain why." I looked at him, his face, the quiet in his eyes, and I realized I didn't need to fly anymore. I didn't need strangers or schedules or masks. I just needed him. So I stayed. A girl he'd only met once. Me. It had been 2 weeks. We settled into something that felt like peace. He cooked, I read, I stopped checking my phone, stopped thinking about flying. Back in this city, people probably thought I vanished. And maybe I had. A part of me liked that. But on the 15th morning, I woke up alone. The fire was out, the house was cold, and he was gone. No note, no call, nothing. I waited. I waited the whole day. At sunset, I walked to the edge of the cliff behind the house. The ocean below was louder than usual. And there, on the bench we always shared, was a box. Small, wooden, hand-carved. My name etched on the lid. Inside, the napkin. The first one he gave me on the plane. Still folded, still perfect. Beneath it, a photo. I froze. It was me, in Nice, summer of 2015. Same white dress, same sandals. But I wasn't alone. He was behind me. Not next to me, behind me, at a distance. Camera zoomed from the dunes. I couldn't breathe. I looked closer. There were more photos, taken over years. Paris, Oslo, Buenos Aires. Always me. Always from a distance. I felt the world tip sideways. He didn't meet me that night in Nice. He found me and followed. My hands shook as I pulled out the last thing in the box. A letter. Handwritten. I never meant to scare you. I just couldn't forget you. I watched you move through cities like a ghost while I stood still. I only wanted one chance. One dinner, 1 week. But I'm not strong enough to walk away now. So I'm doing the only thing I can. I'm giving you the truth. I'll be where I first saw you, the place you never noticed me. If you come, I'll explain everything. If you don't, I'll disappear forever. I stood there, letter crumpling in my hands, wind tearing through my hair, my heart breaking in a way I didn't expect. Because the scariest part wasn't that he'd followed me, it was that I still wanted to see him again. I packed nothing. I just ran, driven by something between fear and need. I took a train back to Nice. The coast hadn't changed. The same old villas, the same slow sunsets. But now everything felt different, because now I knew. He had been there all along. I walked to the old beach. It was past midnight. No people, no lights, just the sound of the sea chewing on the shore. And then I saw him, sitting on the same rock we once shared, a silhouette against the waves. He didn't look up as I approached. "You came," he said quietly. I said nothing. I stood there, heart racing, wind cutting my skin. He finally turned around. His face was older than I remembered, more tired, but the eyes were still waiting, still full of something that scared me. "I didn't lie," he said, "about how I felt, about wanting time with you. But you watched me. You followed me for years. I didn't know how else to hold on to you. I was afraid if I spoke to you, you'd run, and I'd lose you before I even had a chance." I shook my head. Tears stung my eyes, not from pain, not from betrayal, but because I believed him. That was the worst part. I believed every word, and I still loved him for it. "I need to know one thing," I whispered. "If I had never seen that box, would you have ever told me the truth?" He looked up at me, quiet, torn, and then softly, he said, "No." And that was it. That was the answer I both needed and feared. He stood slowly, walked toward me, stopped just inches away. "I can walk away now," he said, "if that's what you need. I'll disappear for real this time. No more notes, no more flights, no more waiting." I stared at him. In that moment, he wasn't a stranger, a stalker, a shadow from the past. He was a man who waited too long to speak, but never stopped hoping. And I had two choices. I could leave and protect the version of myself that felt safe, or I could stay and step into a love built on obsession, yes, but also on something terrifyingly real. I took a breath, stepped forward, and whispered, "Then don't walk away." He didn't, and neither did I. We stayed in Nice for 3 more days, never spoke about the photos, never touched the box again, didn't mention what he'd done. We just existed, like two people clinging to something delicate and unnamed. But on the 4th morning, I woke up alone again. No note, no bench, no trace of him, just one message on my phone. "I told you I'd disappear if you let me. I lied. I'll never disappear from you. You'll feel me in every airport gate, every aisle, every quiet flight. I'll always be behind you, just close enough to remember, too far to stop." That was it. No name, no number, just words. I stared at the screen for a long time, then I deleted the message. Not because I wanted to forget, because I finally understood. Some people don't enter your life to stay. They arrive like turbulence, sudden, unsettling, unforgettable. And when they leave, they don't break you, they just change you forever.